This is Charlie Sheen, and he is lying on a bed with Lindsay, both getting close.
Get out of here, Emilio.
But suddenly an invisible force lifts Charlie into the air and throws him around before slamming him back onto the bed. Lindsay gets scared and tries to leave, but she is also lifted into the air. Her behavior suddenly changes like she is possessed. She then throws Charlie again, and this time he dies. Later, the police find Charlie's dead body, but Lindsay is missing. Neighbors say they still hear party-like noises from the house. Along with Lindsay, her 3 children are also missing. After a few days, Lindsay is caught, but the children are still missing. Some months later, we see J. Marks and DeAndre in a forest trying to steal cannabis plants. When someone starts shooting at them, they run and hide in a nearby cabin. Andre feels it is like a horror movie, but Marks ignores it, and they go inside. The cabin looks messy, but strangely fine. Suddenly, Andre senses someone and starts shooting. Marks also fires, and both end up pointing guns at each other. At that moment, weapons gather around, and those missing children appear.
Hey, little girl, what's your name?
One girl bites Marks, and he realizes they are the missing kids and thinks about the reward.
I'm gonna take that reward money and I'm gonna buy me a shark.
Next, we see Jody taking a pregnancy test, and she feels relieved when it is negative.
Hi, Mom.
Then her husband Dan Sanders arrives and tells her his brother's children have been found. Both go to bring them. At the child center, the officer says one baby has not spoken yet and warns them the kids are difficult. Dan agrees to take responsibility but messes up by opening the wrong curtain. Then they meet the kids. Kathy calls Dan father, but he corrects her. The other girl hits Jody.
Well, they seem like good kids, Doc.
Still, they decide to take them, but the officer refuses and says Jody's lifestyle is not suitable. However, he gives a condition that they must move into a house with cameras for a case study. Jody jokes about selling the house, but Dan makes her understand, and they agree. While returning, their car has a small accident. Inside the house, strange things begin. They accidentally hit baby Aiden, and later when Dan lifts the carrier, it is empty. They panic, but then see the baby hanging nearby. At the same time, Kathy makes a drawing, and when Dan and Jody see it, they get shocked, realizing something is very wrong with these children. Now they bring the children home, and living with them is their maid Maria, along with their pet dog, while Dan goes to work. But there he gets into trouble with his colleague because of a strange experiment he was doing, and ends up getting blamed for it. At the same time at home, Jody is playing guitar when the lights start flickering. She goes into the kitchen and suddenly sees Lily there, which scares her. And as the lights flicker again, they both switch places in a strange way. Later that night, when Dan comes back, Jody tells him the kids are too difficult and she cannot handle them and wants to send them back. Dan then asks about the ballerina doll Kathy always carries, but Jody avoids talking about it and remembers her past where her mother was pregnant and performing on stage when suddenly her water broke and Jody was born right there. Coming back to the present, Dan tells her about a Swan Lake audition on Friday. Jody decides to go and joins the dance group where the instructor introduces an old dancer named Dassy and asks her to perform, but her dance feels very strange. There Jody meets Kendra and they become friends. Jody asks her to try performing, but she refuses at first. Then suddenly goes on stage and instead of ballet starts doing pole dancing. Surprisingly, the instructor loves it and calls it amazing. That same night at home, everyone is sleeping, but Jody hears a noise and goes to check. Dan follows her and she accidentally hits him out of fear. Then Maria comes and gives Jody a card and tells her to call a psychic because an evil spirit is in the house. But Dan refuses. Maria then decides to protect herself and suddenly cuts a chicken's head and marks a cross on the wall with its blood. The next morning, the house is completely messy, and they think the kids did it, but Kathy says Jody did it because she hates the house. They start cleaning again, and during this, Kathy finds some adult items which Dan awkwardly calls an electronic toothbrush. Then Kathy brings another box, but Dan quickly takes it away. Later, Jody notices a strange symbol on the wall, and Maria again tells her to call a man named Blaine. But Dan insists on installing cameras instead. However, while doing that, he somehow ends up in an ambulance and this weird situation repeats again. That same night, Jody checks the kids' room and finds it messy again. She gets angry and tries to open a cupboard, but Kathy stops her. Jody ignores her and opens it anyway, and suddenly Maria jumps out from inside and falls on her as she was sitting there. Later that night, Maria is seen doing something strange in the bathroom while everyone sleeps. The next day at dance class, the instructor first selects Jody for the main role and asks her to perform. But then Dassy interrupts and the instructor changes his mind, saying Jody's body is not suitable, and instead chooses Kendra back at home. Jody tells Kathy she had a bad day, but Kathy says she already knows because Mama told her. Dan also arrives and Jody tells him something is seriously wrong in the house and someone is trying to separate them from the children, and now she decides to call the psychic Blaine as Maria suggested. Outside, Dan gets shocked seeing Maria because she is wearing Jody's swimsuit, and things get even more weird when Jody goes to the bathroom and sees her toothbrush has been used in a disgusting way by the strange mama figure who lives with them. She keeps trying to connect with the kids, but they don't respond at all. That same night, Maria sleepwalks and starts cleaning, dancing, and ironing clothes like nothing is wrong. At the same time, Jody hears a sound from the kitchen and goes to check but finds nothing at the house. Really hates Dan. So the next day, Jody calls a psychic named Blaine. Both Dan and Jody explain everything to him. Blaine asks if it's a ghost or a demon, and then shows them a device he claims can talk to spirits but says it will cost money. Dan agrees. Blaine asks them to close their eyes and secretly transfers money from Dan's account while pretending to contact the spirit. He shakes the table with his legs and acts possessed to fool them. The next day, Maria is seen secretly drinking baby Aiden's milk while everyone sleeps. Jody tells Dan she saw Mama trying to pull him away and believes she wants to separate them from the kids, but Dan says the psychic was a fraud and doesn't believe her. That same night, Maria again sleepwalks and dances, while in a strange scene, all the vacuum cleaners in the house start moving like they are having a party. The next day, Maria gets scared and starts doing random rituals to remove the spirit, but Dan gets frustrated because he cannot understand her language and throws her out of the house. This turns into a funny fight between them and even continues when Dan reaches his office and Maria follows him there. During the chaos, the cages of apes get opened and suddenly apes are running everywhere on the streets. On the other side, Jody is sitting with Kendra, who tells her she dances stiff like a robot. Jody opens her lunch and finds only a small piece of pear, while Kendra casually eats a whole pizza and says she never gains weight. This makes Jody uncomfortable and she even throws up. Later, Darcy writes something insulting about Jody on the mirror. Back at home, Jody talks to Kathy about Mama, but Kathy says she does not like it when Jody talks about her. When Jody asks who Mama is, Kathy says she is a woman from an evil book who sometimes appears in their dreams. Later, Lily starts playing loudly and Jody gets irritated. Now Jody decides to find answers through dreams and calls Dom, who uses a machine to enter dreams. He takes Jody into a dream for the first test where they sit in a restaurant, and the table starts shaking, but it turns out to be nothing serious. Dom tells her to focus, but the session fails, and Jody wakes up while Dom is still stuck in the dream for a moment. They try again, but still find nothing. Then Jody suggests bringing Kathy into the session, and this time they see a woman reading from a book. All of them wake up and Kathy confirms that woman is Mama who wants to sacrifice them and kill them. In a bizarre moment, even their pet dog replaces Kathy and starts dreaming. But now Jody finally understands that Mama was created by an evil book which is hidden in the cabin in the woods inside a cellar. Jody now realizes that if she finds that cabin, she might finally get all her answers. Later, she is on a video call with Kendra when suddenly the lights start flickering and she sees a shadow and hits it. But it turns out to be Caesar the ape with Dan. Then Kendra also arrives, and when the ape opens the door, she starts hitting it too. After this, both Jody and Kendra decide to go to the cabin in the woods while leaving the children with Dan. They reach the cabin and spend some fun time there. But the next day, Jody gets late for her ballet class, and when she arrives, she sees Kendra getting close to the dance master, which makes her angry. She confronts Kendra about what happened last night and leaves in anger. Kendra follows her, and there Jody checks the footage from the previous night and sees that she was actually alone and behaving strangely by herself. Kendra also sees this and feels awkward and apologizes. Suddenly, Mama appears on the screen and both get scared. Then they see news about the same cabin and those children. So they go inside the cellar where they find a book with a warning not to read it. But Jody ignores it and starts reading.
The curse begins with 4 words.
Which causes strange things to happen and people around begin hurting themselves.
The curse ends with 1 word. Addenda.
What the heck? I don't have an arm.
Maybe we didn't do it right. Gort, Klaatu, Barada, Nikto. Addenda.
Why does this keep happening?
Cry me a river.
This is f***ed up.
Let me try. Klaatu, Barada, Nikto. You know what, let's go.
Creating complete chaos, they quickly take the book and return home. Meanwhile, the ape tries to save baby Aiden from Mama and brings him safely, but Jody misunderstands the situation and hits the ape thinking it will harm the baby. Dan then sends the ape back, and while leaving, the ape warns that there is a dangerous demon in the house. Later, Dan and Jody check the CCTV but get distracted and miss important moments. Jody goes to check on the children, but Mama appears and attacks her and locks her in a room. Kathy and Lily run to Dan and warn him that Mama is in the house and wants to kill them, but he still does not believe them. Suddenly, Mama appears behind him and attacks him too, leaving him unconscious. When Dan wakes up, Maria is in front of him acting strangely. She shows affection in a weird way and behaves emotionally. Just then, Jody arrives and says there is no time as Mama has taken the girls. Both rush to save them and reach a cliff where Mama is about to sacrifice Kathy and Lily. Mama attacks them, but Jody refuses to give up. Both Jody and Mama try to call Lily toward them, but Lily chooses Jody, and when Jody tries to fight Mama, Lily helps and pushes Mama off the cliff. She falls down into a pool where Marks and Andre are sitting, and a shark eats her, finally ending everything and saving the children. After this, Jody returns to ballet where she meets Kendra again and is told to move on and perform, but Jody says she already has what she wanted, which is her family.
Times in life.
Kendra then performs on stage while Jody watches happily with her family, and in the end, everything becomes normal again. Even the ape is shown at the end, giving a message that humans should enjoy their life and make the most of their time.